but
Hopefully they come
kind of
down.
funny because it was my best years ever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What is your next tournament going to be?
Oh, I think when I start February or March, I will have the national in March, maybe late February. We'll start with good tournament. So I'm gonna start again to train. I think early January to be ready for March, April, and May. All depend the calendar.
Right. Do you think?
In Europe, we have a lot of tournaments, and it's easy to travel. So it's difficult as well. It's not possible to pull every weekend.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to choose where you want to go.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah, it's true like that here. There's, a tournament every weekend, and it's a question of how many tournaments can you do and still have an arm that feels somewhat normal and strong. With so many big tournaments, it's hard to
Yeah,
choose.
I think, especially for me, I think what will be good, is to have something like 7, 8 big tournament a year, no more.
Yeah.
Because you have to get rest, you have to train. So the problem is that 1 week, 10 days before a big tournament, you cannot train.
Mm-hmm.
And the same doing 1 week after the tournament, you can't train at all. It does mean if you have one tournament every month, you're not training anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This is the main issue. So it has a kind of organization to know where you want to go and when you want to go there.
Right.
It's very important to have a good timing in training.
So talk about that a little bit more. At this point that you've been arm wrestling for many decades now, what does your training look like?
My training, actually, I'm training 6 times a week, 3 days a week. It does mean that I train 2 times a day. So I'm training 2 times on Monday, 2 times on Wednesday, and 2 times on Friday.
Okay.
I do not have a full week training. I like having Tuesday and Thursday to recovering, and actually on Friday evening, actually we are sometimes doing table time. I guess we have 3 days to recovering. Somebody might be pulling every day. I can't. I think to have 1 day off between each session is good.
So when you say train, you're talking about pulling 3 times a week?
I'm pulling, table, table time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing something like 2 times a month, twice a month.
Okay.
Yeah, about 2 hours, 2 hours and a half.
So for the days that you're training 3 days a week, what kind of stuff are you doing?
What workout, you mean?
Yeah.
For me, I think I'm wrestling these 3 things. What is very important is something I heard somewhere is called hand control. Angles.
Yeah.
Angles are very important too, and leverage. Mm-hmm. This is, for me, I think, the 3 key of arm wrestling. So you really have to train it. It does mean that I'm mostly training with cables, with pulley, and I try to have the same angle in my workout and on the table. Mm-hmm. Very important, arm wrestling is very all about these 3 things. You can have very big arms, like raw power. What is very important is to be strong in the angle you need. I'm not strong at all. I'm not benching at all. I have friends that are benching 200 kg and they're not strong in arm wrestling. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We have to be tough. On the angle you need. We're not doing and I'm doing a particular training too because I need to work explosivity, and sometimes I have to work stamina. Mm-hmm. And this is very difficult because this antagonist move. So sometimes I'm doing something like 250 reps per set, but very fast.
Wow.
So it's a kind of different training.
Yeah, because most of the time we talk to people, they usually stay away from high repetition and they stick with like low repetition and heavy weight. So why do you think that endurance training is good for what you're doing?
I'm starting with lightweight. I'm doing 80, 100 reps. Then I'm going like pyramid, start to work out a bit more heavy. And then I have very heavy weights. And when I have very weight, I try as well to pull with the 100 kg to do 25, 30 reps.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important to, it's important that your tendons are all the time in action. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Not like a positive and negative move. We're not doing like bodybuilding that we're pumping the blood.
Right.
It's very important that your tendon have to be all the time on stress. And that is very the feeling from wrestling. Is very different than another one sport.
Mm-hmm.
It's like statical, dynamic. It's very, very, specific sport.
Yeah,
Right.
because I'll have training partners who would tell me that they'll do sets of 6 or 8 or on a bicep curl, and they'll tell me what weight they're using, and I tell them I'm never gonna have to curl somebody 6 times on the arm wrestling table. That's not the way we build our strength. We build it through the smaller muscles holding and the larger muscles moving, and it's just like anchor points basically. So the tendons always having pressure, and always, it's very important to be able to do that and be able to hold in that one spot for a long, long time without gassing out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bit different too. It's very. I think there is basic, workout that everybody can do. Then you have to find out what is works for you, and that's why it's very important. You have to do exercises that you like to do, because if you do, stuff you don't like, you will not push, too much. It's very important every day to try to be better than the day before.
Mm-hmm.
You really have to push your limits. So if you're working some, exercises that you don't like to do, you will never try to be better because you will do the minimums. It's very important to find something that you enjoy to do during the training.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. You've been doing it for so long. What do you do to keep yourself motivated to continue to improve?
Say again.
I said, you've been arm wrestling for a really long time. So how do you stay motivated?
I started wrestling in 1988. Will be next year's 30 years. I was starting very young. So I'm not that old. What I want to say, there's a big evolution. When I was studying on wrestling, we were training all the technique. We wanted to find out actually what is good or not. And during years, nobody were having background what to say. And Europe was not like the US that they already have pullers for many, many years. So I think I did some wrong things too. I was not working the good angle. And after years, after time, you have more experience. You are speaking with people. You are seeing people they're doing, and then you try to be better. And then you have as well. Everybody has a different genetic, so you cannot say, "Do this is going to be good. You're going to work for you." Somebody will do it, and they can have a very easy time with it. And somebody will not be able at all to do it. Mm-hmm. You really have to find your sweet point, the thing that really you think is working out for you. Mm-hmm. Because it's not a mathematics sport. This is the problem,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talk about that a lot. Is that you have 10 people that we interview, and they all have different styles of training, and to a certain extent, it's what you're talking about. Is that everybody's body is different, and they have to learn their own pathway to success. So, So I have questions coming in for you. So let me ask a couple of these. Here's one from Paul Maiden. I think you know him over in England, and. He has
might be
yeah, maybe So his question is about palming of skills. He says that's something you talk about. Do you understand what he's talking about? Because I don't.
Yeah, he's asking about skills.
Yeah, he's talking about like basically when you use the meaty part of your palm to straighten your own wrist.
It's very important. this we call hand control, because a lot of people don't understand it. Hand is this, is this, is this, is this, is all the direction. A lot of people think, oh, hand, doing this or this. And wrestling is this as well, very important. I mean, you have to understand what your opponent is doing. I think the best way, to beat people is to not let them going on the direction they want.
Right.
I mean, for example, you are very good in the hook. It's for nothing to be incredibly good in the hook and not to be able to go in the hook. You understand what I mean? So when I'm pulling with a guy that is hooking me, I'm gonna try to not let him go into his position. And this is the key. If you let him go very strong, he will beat you. So do not let your opponent going very strong. The reason why the hand is at 360 degrees, and you have to use it in all the angles.
Agreed. Yeah, I think people only think of half of it sometimes. It's the same thing with even strap pulling. Some people only think about the hand height in terms of the hand height and palm, but there isn't, that how far your hand is in the match and how far outside your hand is as well. So it's kind of the same thing where, hand control just isn't just this. Sometimes it is keeping it flat intentionally in order to kind of stall out somebody who's trying to turn you in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't understand what exactly does it mean hand control. They think all the time that there's just one way to go wrestling. And sometimes when I'm pulling, in negative, my hand is a losing position. People will say, oh, I understand how you can do it because you are giving your hand to your opponent. But this is not true. In fact, I don't let him taking my hand. It's different, But it's very difficult to do it because is not onto the natural move of arm wrestling. So everybody would think that is something, weird, but actually it works really well, but you have to work on it. And this is not easy.
So how do you work on it?
A lot of people are asking me, I don't understand how you can have a so great rotation. Actually, I'm not working at all my rotation. I don't do any particular exercises, I'm working most of the time is about, when you're doing top roll, you have to work your hand and not your brush out. A lot of people have something like doing a hammer curl, so they have very good brush out, but their wrist is not strong enough. The wrist has to be the first things, before the brush out. So I'm pulling more like, pulling with a rope like this, I'm not doing things, with dumbbells, never.
Gotcha.
I really try
Never.
I really try to have the same, sensation at the working out and at the table. Position, with everything. And I think this is not bad at all, And I had to do it before because during 20 years, I haven't doing any table time. I was alone to train. I had nobody at all to train with. So I was trying to simulate exactly what I need on the gym. And now I think it's not too bad,
So no dumbbells at all?
No, I hate it.
I think that's
no, I'm pulling with cables.
Yeah.
Yeah, because dumbbells is very different. For me, cables is pulling down your wrist. You understand what I mean? Dumbbells is different. I think you're not training the same things.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, well, I think that there's a lot of truth there because typically, especially the way most people lift weights, it's a very linear motion, and arm wrestling is not a linear sport. So I think it is challenging to lift weights in a way that mimics what we do in arm wrestling. Whereas what you said with cables and bands, it is significantly easier to mimic positions. And I've noticed, I noticed you doing it at Worlds this year, and I noticed a lot of people just really spending a great deal of time with bands, when they're getting ready to warm up and stuff, but also doing lots of pulley training at home.
Yeah, I think it's important. Once again, I cannot say that there is thing working or thing not working. I just explain what I like to do,
Yeah.
what is working for me.
Mm-hmm.
It would be guys, Babayev, I think in Dumbo is incredibly strong,
Mm-hmm.
because it is his style. You know what I mean? I have a different style. I prefer to have a. I don't like dumbbells. I never pull dumbbells. I like pulley all the time and cable. And for me, I think this angle are better. This then is personal. You cannot say that. You will ask John Brezang, who will say, "Oh, I hate gym." You will never go to pull dumbbells. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Hmm.
Right.
Because it was different way. So I think we have a basic training. Everybody has a basic training. Then we have to find out what is works or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some guy who are top rolling, they have a very long, leverage. He will not pull the same than guy has a short forearm.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think, yeah. So I think if you have a shorter forearms, it's better to pull maybe with dumbbells. Will not pull with cables because the move is different. I think it's all
Interesting.
about this.
That's it. Someone just sent in a question asking about, they that says that they have a short forearm and they're stocky, so they prefer using a hook. But it's interesting that you say that because Babayev does have a shorter arm compared to a lot of people in his class, like Prudnik and you and me. So it's interesting to think that cables might be better for people with longer arms versus weights for people with shorter arms. I wonder if that's true.
Once again, Abayev has something different than other people. He has the strongest hand.
Yes.
He has the strongest hand in the arm wrestling history.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, if you are so strong in a hook and not able to go into the hook, it's for nothing.
Right.
Abayes has the ability to go in a hook like nobody else.
Hmm.
So for him, it might be different. It's all depend what you wanna do. For me, I think what is important is really to be able uh, to not let your opponent going into his move. I'm not pulling the same with a guy who's going in a hook or with a guy who's going in the top roll.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's all depends if you want to go side or back. Side pressure is great when you have a longer leverage. If you have a shorter leverage, it's better to go on back pressure. Okay, this is my opinion. Somebody would maybe do differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to argue about this because it's something that is not mathematic, and everybody is different. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
has a very good hand, somebody has better wrist, somebody has a very good biceps, somebody has maybe better shoulder press. It's very. That's why I'm wrestling very interesting. Not just like running. It's so many things they can do. When people are just looking at the table, they never seen any matches before, and you saw them wrestling. Oh, they don't
Mm-hmm.
understand it. They think
Mm-hmm.
it's very simple, but in fact, it's very, very complicated.
Yeah, it's very
Mm-hmm.
complex and it's very personal. We've said it
Yeah.
before where you can take all of your training partners and even great arm wrestlers, and you can take all their advice and you end up throwing away 80% of it because it doesn't fit
Mm-hmm.
you personally.
Right.
Whatever
Right.
whatever you walked in with. Some people, we've all felt new guys who had unbelievably strong hands, and there's really no explanation why. They just have strong hands. And then there's other guys who come in, they're brand new, and they just have really strong arms, but their hands aren't that great. There's really no explaining it,
Yeah.
and how do you build it from there? Everybody's plan to build from there is so much different.
So what do you think that, I mean, where do
Yeah.
you go from that? If you're a brand new person, you're starting off and you feel strong in certain positions, is that what you want to explore? Try to improve those positions that you feel strong in the beginning? Or do you think it's better to
Oh,
be more
yeah.
diverse?
Yeah. Setting up is so important. Setting up is everything. Um, I know exactly now when I have my open hand. When you're setting up, you know what to do with mostly with every time.
Hmm.
What I want to say to you that there's a lot of people coming on the table and they don't know what to do. Setting up is about 1 millimeters.
Yes.
That's why sometimes, people they don't understand it. And wrestling is a bit like, sometimes a truck race. You have 30 minutes of setting up, and you have 5 seconds of grace. Yeah, sometimes, I'm wrestling take 5-10 minutes to setting up, and we'll have 3 seconds, and people will not understand it because 1 millimeters left, low, higher, or whatever is changing completely. And this you have to feel it. I think the first thing you have to do, and I think if Paul Maiden is here, or maybe guys like Nick Pickup, they would agree with me. The first thing you have to do before beating your opponent is to beat the referee.
Sure.
It's not the referee who has to beat you, because something hard to say, but it's not the referee who has to tell you what you have to do, because you will never win. But there is rules, and we have to say accept these rules, and we have to be correct with the rules. But we have to make work the rules for us too. The rules do not have to be against. This is very important.
Yeah. So how much time, like when you're doing table time twice a month, do you spend a lot of time practicing the setup before you even do arm wrestling?
No.
So it's just
I have
something
a big problem.
Yeah.
We are living in Switzerland, and we have not so many people, practicing.
Right.
So we are 3-4 guys, and I'm pulling all the time with the same guys. So finally, is not so easy. It's not like John Brezin that he was practicing during 4 hours or 5 hours with 80 or 100, guys. Switzerland is very, so the problem that people, they all the time do the same. You pull with the same guy doing the same technique, you do the same thing.
I see.
So the reason why it's very important is to go to a big tournament to understand wrestling. You have to feel the table. You have to fly over the table. The table has to be your friend. You don't have to take the table like an enemy. And this is this is taking a long time to feel it. You have to get experience. You have to understand how it works. And this is not going to happen the 2 or 3 first years. It takes time.
Yeah, it takes a long time to build up that instinct. Like you said, you go up to the table, you grip up, and you know what you're gonna do. Now, if you're strong enough to do it or not is one thing, but you go up there and you're not lost. You know what you're going to do. And that really is just a lot of experience and instinct, because, instinct is faster than thinking about something. So it takes a lot of experience.
Yeah, there's things too, I would want to say that most of people, I would say 90% of arm wrestler, they will be able to do just one technique. I mean, if you're very strong in a hook, you go to the worlds, you will not try to go in top roll because you will not feel confident in top roll. So people is going to pull in a hook, they will be for sure pulling in a hook. So what I want to say is very important to be complete. I have many examples, when there is 2 guys, very good hooker, they're pulling for 2-3 minute match, and then they are both completely dead,
Yeah.
What I want to say with this, when you know that the opponent is very, very good in a move, try to use another one move against him. You're going to save a lot of energy. That's why it's very important to be, able to do any move with any people against you. It's very, very important,
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, when you're pulling somebody like somebody asked us earlier, this kid named Josh said, you've beaten Prudnik in the past, and he's a guy who also is very good in many different techniques. If you were pulling him today, how do you think it would be different?
More about knowledge, Now I know exactly what I can go, what I can do with I was pulling, for example, years ago with Dave Patton in 1990 at the Rules. At that time, was my second rule. I did not get so much experience. And now when I see this, I would do completely different,
Sure.
That's why now, at that time I was not strong enough. My anger were poor, Now I know exactly what I can do with people. So all this about, experience, the way you train, with who you pull. You have to understand what your opponent want to do. And once again, I think the best technique ever is to not let go your opponent on the angle he wants. It's better to not let your opponent going on the angle if he wants than you to go on the angle you want.
I see.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So will you change what you're doing if you feel comfortable? Will you adjust your grip just to make your opponent feel uncomfortable?
Oh yeah. So when I'm looking up with guys who get very long leverage, like Niklas Nanstan, for example, I was during all my career, pulling most of the time with shorter guy. This is because a lot of people they're starting on wrestling, and then they're getting weight. I don't want to say why they're getting weight, but anyway, they're getting weight. So, I mean, most of people pulling 80, 85, they should pull 70,
Yeah.
So they are shorter. The reason why most of the time was pulling with shorter guy than I, so they all the time were very strong in the hook. So I was more developing my technique against hook puller. And it was happening sometime that I have a very hard time with top roller,
Right.
So then I had to change the way to pull with them. So I was thinking what I have to do against them. And then I changed the way to pull, and I see that it was working too,
That's really interesting, man. I think it takes a lot of courage to do that, because if you have a really strong move that you have won some big matches with, to sort of abandon it and try something else just to screw with your opponent, and also to work on your weak areas, that's hard for most people to do.
Yeah. The problem, I think most of people, they are very strong in one move, so they want to be stronger and stronger in this move.
Yeah.
But one day they will face another one guy stronger than them this move, and it's over. But the reason why Brazil was so good, because he was able to go anywhere with any people. I think he's way better to be stronger, everywhere, to be able to catch your opponents and to go, to reverse the style. That's why it's very important for people going in a hook to be able to top roll too.
Yeah, and what made
because with just one technique.
Yeah, and what made Brzezinski so special too was that he was so good at going to one move and then transitioning to other moves, during it. So he might hook somebody and then top roll from there, and which makes somebody very dangerous.
Yeah, but then the things too, sometimes he's just standing in the hook to tire a bit the opponent, and then when his opponent is tired, he's going on the top roll. He's feeling the right moment to do it. Like we have a great example. I think it was 2009 Zloty Tour, Emirov, when he was pulling with Babayev. They have a 1 minute and a half hook, and then Babayev was run out of gas, and John top roll him, but he did not top roll at the beginning. So different game,
Yeah, we've seen Brzezinski do that a bunch of times to people, just outthink them. When he pulled Michael Todd at UAL a few years back, it was the same kind of thing, when he pulled out the press on him, which has now been copied by Trubin and Pushkar to beat Todd. So I love that he always has these interesting techniques, and not only that, but he finds the exact right moment to use them. So it's not only having the technique and having the strength and the different angles, but also having the correct timing and being able to read when your opponent is weak and there's an opening for a different technique.
Yeah, but I want to say we have a lot of different technique now. We have one thing is called king move, and somebody who don't like it at all, And I think king move is not a matter of strength. If you want to beat the king move, you have to be smarter. You have to understand what he's doing. I remind Jerry Cadorek pulling with Michael Todd.
Yeah.
He was pressing him at, half of an inch, and he couldn't finish.
Yeah.
Then he has to understand what he has to do. It's not a matter of power, I think Pushkar was smarter this time. The reason why he was winning.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see Pushkar standing up in the center of the table, kind of posting back, keeping it. Just you don't see that very often from Pushkar. Pushkar usually one direction, full speed ahead.
Yeah.
You could definitely see him using his brain.
He's evolving,
So getting older is getting better, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's what you have to do. So, John, let's watch one of these matches, man. I know I sent you a whole bunch of them, so you're probably like, Jesus, stop sending me this stuff. But did you get the 3 that I sent you?
I only know of one, but I'm sure I got them.
The second one is the one I want to watch. So we're gonna show one of your matches, Pascal, and you can talk us through it. This one is with Craig Sanders, and it's a great match. And I like it. Well, you can see, but I would love to hear. Okay, this is the third one. This one's good too. This one starts at. This is good. Let's watch this one because this is from this year against Zubaan, which is an unbelievable match. I'm sure you remember it, Pascal, because I was watching it live, and it was. There was a lot of people yelling and screaming. So maybe you can talk us through, what happened in this match.
Yeah, this was the rule.
Yep.
Actually, I was very surprised because I put him at the numero, and I was less good. I was not as good at the rules, and I beat him way more easy. I don't understand why. But you can see he's all working with the hand. You can watch the angle of my hand. I don't want to have my hand inside.
Yeah, you're not fully wrist curl whatsoever. A little tiny bit, but not full.
Yeah.
And
so you're putting like
posting straight up pressure too.
It looks like you're really attacking.
Now the back. Now it's going backwards a little bit. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. I'm not wrestling his arm.
Right.
I'm not wrestling his arm. I'm wrestling his hand. It's very different things,
Do you feel like?
And then looking for leverage.
Amazing.
Looking for leverage. But for this, you have to get the hand control. If you don't have a hand control, you can nothing to do.
Yeah.
Once again, the hand is doing everything.
So were you focusing on his lower fingers for the first part of that match?
I focus in the way that to not let him go in the hook.
And when you put your hand backwards like that, when you're in that strap, when you put your hand backwards and post up, straight up like that, does it feel like it creates a small gap in the strap where you can finally loosen it a bit to continue that climbing?
Yeah. It's very important to be able to climb on the strap. It's you to setting up or you feel good, If you are, setting up the strap too high, it's going to block your wrist and you cannot move,
Okay.
I think the strap is very interesting to work with because it's totally different than to work without strap.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the strap. Go ahead.
It's more like you really have to be good on the wrist. If your wrist is weak, you can still, have a floppy wrist. But what is good with the strap that you don't need to focus on the hand because anyway your hand is held by the strap, you can focus on the wrist and I think it's way better. You don't need to focus on the fingers.
Right, for sure.
You just can apply pressure. You can apply pressure with the wrist. You don't need to, you don't need to focus on the fingers to hold your opponent hand. And I think it's something very good. I like very much the strap.
Yeah. Well, in that match we just watched, Zubaan is an incredibly powerful person, and it's super impressive to me that you're able to contain his power long enough to find the opening and then pin him. I saw you think about going in to press a couple times, but you ended up sticking with the original move as his power level went down. I think it's crazy to be able to stop that kind of power with that move. I love it. Let's watch. Let's watch this Craig one. This is a great one too.
All right.
Yeah, Craig is very dangerous sporter.
Yes,
You never know what he's doing. Yeah. He's very strong, fast.
Richard Poole yelling at you.
Yeah, I was going to say you have to win with the ref first, right?
Yeah.
So look at that, man. It looks like he knows what you're trying to do and is trying to get underneath it and pull through it.
Yeah, and you saw actually in this movie he has a hand control. His wrist was higher than I,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have to try to get it back.
Is that why you turn it in a little bit?
Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You see,
Yep.
what about the wrist?
Mm.
Right now, yeah, because he had before, even though he's lost his hand a bit, he had some rotation on it, which is kind of starting to fade a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah. And I'm just,
Definitely.
I'm
Now
pulling his
climbing.
fingers. You can
Yeah, you're
see.
getting higher
Yeah,
and higher.
exactly. And then yeah, I'm getting more leverage.
Craig is so strong. He's really hanging in there.
Oh yeah,
So you got a good post for a second there too.
That's a good
yeah.
post.
Yep.
See, leverage.
Yep. So when
Yeah,
you're posting like that, are you also trying to grab a little bit higher every time you drop down?
yeah. And it's very important to now I can feel um, the working out I'm doing with the rope that is working very fine
Mm.
because my hand is iron. I mean, I don't know how to explain you because a lot of people I
That
think they
is
don't
crazy.
they're not. I mean, they're not really using correctly the wrist.
Mm.
Wrist is so important.
So now you said you don't do specific training exercises. So how do you think your wrist got so strong?
Actually, it's not my wrist that is strong. I mean, it's the way to use it. For
Interesting.
example, my grip.
Yeah.
My grip. I have a very bad grip.
Hmm.
Captain Crush
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
sure,
something
yeah.
like this. Yeah, I can close maybe the number one, even not the second. Yeah, I think wrestling is not about you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Wrestling is about this,
Okay.
rotation and about this.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
You have to be strong here. If you want to pro like this, you'll never be good all the time. Pulling with fingers and not with the wrist. This works for me. If somebody like to pull this way now,
Hmm.
I like
Right,
more to
right.
pull like this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Right.
When someone drops their wrist
this
down
is
like that,
different.
they're
Yeah,
almost feeding you that nice high post. And I think honestly, I think Crazy George kind of proves that as well. That's one guy who never ever loses that straight up, even in the strap. It's
yeah,
always just way winding out, and is also a guy who only grips like this. He only grips with his. He doesn't even close his fingers like flat finger pressure ever.
True.
He's only
oh
gripping
yeah,
like this.
yeah,
Have you ever pulled him, Crazy
yeah.
George?
Oh yeah, pull him 2003 at the Worlds.
How'd it go?
That was in
Sure, I
Canada.
beat him. Yeah, yeah. In 2003 was in I don't remind now. Um, Ottawa. Yeah. When
Did
they
you
did,
beat him?
yeah, he took fourth place, I think,
Okay.
and I took third place. Yeah.
I would love to see that match,
But
man. I'm gonna look that up later.
once again, George is very tough to beat.
Mm.
And I think it's all about to understand what he's doing, not about power.
Hmm.
You can see Del Antonia beat him twice
Yes.
Right.
because he does understand what he has to do with him.
Yeah, I
He's
mean,
not just like
Yeah, he's not just smashing sideways. He's
hitting.
right. He's using patience. He's
Yeah,
getting to positions.
yeah, exactly. You can see, for example, 2010, Alton Tynov
Mm-hmm.
won the Worlds. Then in 2011 he went to the Arnold's and he lost to George.
mhm.
The reason was it's not about that George was stronger than him. The reason was that Tynov first didn't know anything about George, and he did not elaborate any strategy. And when he saw him, what this old fart doing in arm wrestling, He was thinking that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
He was thinking that way. And finally, what he was doing, just, hitting sideways.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't understand what to do. Because if you want to beat George, you don't have to hit him sideways. You have to climb.
Right. There's not enough side pressure in the world just going straight across. I think he's beat heavyweights this way just because people pick the wrong way. You get
Michael Gould, one of them.
Yeah, Mike Gould. Yeah. You just pick the wrong way. It's just you're gonna get hung up in that spot, and you're also you're also allowing him to really wrench back in terms of back pressure.
Very bad.
Yeah, it's very bad.
Yeah, it's extremely bad.
Yeah,
but I love watching that match with D'Antoni when he climbs fingers, and he ends up pinning his actual hand rather than worrying about his arm. I think that's a very beautiful technique. I will try that.
Leverage.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah, but to do it, you have to be able to have a hand and wrist control.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot climb without having hand control. That's why they say the key of everything is hand control.
Mm-hmm.
We agree, obviously, because of the name of the show.
Oh, yeah.
So you say there's, in Switzerland, I know you said there's not a lot of people you can train with, but is arm wrestling a sport that people, are they aware of it? I mean, is it considered to be a big sport there or no?
We used to be, during the 90s, about 300 competitors at the nationals.
Okay.
And in 2017, we were something like 45.
Wow.
It's very difficult, Switzerland, we have too many things. It's a small country, and we have, as well, a lot of immigration. So not easy to put people together and to do something, And as well, the problem we have too that in Central Europe, and wrestling is still, people are still seeing that it's sport for dumb people, it's not like, in Scandinavia, in Eastern country, in US, it's all the time this culture that the man has to be strong, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In Switzerland, it's not the same cultures, So it's difficult to attract people. And there's people coming, 1-2 times because they heard about you and they want to know if they're better than you. And then they come 2 times and they have, problem in the arm for 6 months and you don't see them anymore. Arm wrestling is very, very difficult sport,
Mm-hmm.
And it's very, you can train your ass off. For 1 year, you go to the Worlds and you do just like 3 seconds and it's finished.
Yeah.
It's very, very frustrating, and sometimes people just don't accept it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's true. We see that everywhere, but it's interesting to me how, particularly in Europe, it seems that there are a few countries where it's taken very, very seriously, and there are big teams, and then there are a lot of countries where it's not too. It's like the same in the United States. There are a small number of very serious pullers, and then there's a lot of people that do it either recreationally or just do it for fun a couple times a year. But to get to the point where you would consider traveling to Worlds, it's a very small group. There's 315 million people in the United States, and I think this year 25 people went to Worlds.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a really small number.
Yeah, I understand as well is the problem we have now governmental policy in sport. When I see Kazakhstan, for example, they have a lot of money for the sport.
Mm-hmm.
They have another one, cultures for the sport. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Here we do sport. You will never be able to do a living with the sport. So people, they prefer to work because everything is very expensive. Yeah. You have to be able to have a living. In Eastern countries is different. I know that somewhere people they can have a no bad living with them wrestling. In Switzerland it's not possible at all.
Right,
we have to pay for everything, So
yeah,
it's just more like passion,
Yeah. Like it's the same situation in the States too. It's something people do because they like it. Because maybe 2 or 3 people in the country are getting paid to arm wrestle, and those, like maybe Michael Todd, Dave Chafee, Travis Bajan, people like that. Everybody else is
they can do some money,
Yeah.
But it's just the 5 top guys.
Exactly. Hmm. Let
Yeah.
me ask you this question, Pascal. I assume that Dave Chafee and Pushkar are going to face each other next time in the next Vendetta, although it hasn't been announced yet. How do you see that match going?
I mean, Pushka and Shafi.
Yeah, right-handed.
Yeah, if you want to pull together. I saw Shafi. I don't know the level of Turbin, but I saw Shafi very strong at Nemiroff.
Yeah.
Mm.
Then Pushka is very powerful too. There is a big problem with all these people. How many tournaments a year Pushka is doing?
Mm-hmm.
2, 3, and
Yeah.
did he ever have to think what to do to beat somebody? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Mm.
When you are like Chupenkov, when you are so big, so strong, I would say the best technique in the world is steroid. You know what I mean?
I
Okay,
hear you.
just a joke. But
Sure.
when I say problem with these people, they are so strong. I remind in 2006 when I went to Tokyo at the Worlds. No, 2005. Sorry,
Yeah.
was one guy, German guy called August Miesel. He's a
Mm-hmm.
fucking monster. He's
Yep.
very strong. He's a giant. The problem he invited me at his gym, and the only guy who was training with him was a guy from 70 kilo on the table. So never ever he has to try to think what he has to do to win. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is the
yeah.
problem with the heavyweights. Yeah, the heavyweights. You go to the worlds, the top 5, they are okay, but the other one, their level is not so good because nobody is going to give them any match, any time.
Mm.
So they don't have to be smart. They don't
I see.
have to try to think what to do to win
Right.
because anyway they are winning. Yeah, this is a big problem with not just in arm wrestling, with all the sport.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Middleweight all the time the best level.
Yeah,
That's true.
the margin of error goes down
So
significantly the stronger they get, right? If
Mhm,
you're not the
mhm.
strongest guy in the room, your technique better be perfect.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, but what I want to say, is about Shafi looks very good.
Yeah.
Mm.
Pushkar maybe is a bit stronger, and he will become stronger anyway.
Yeah.
But then it's about ability.
Hmm.
You know, for example, we are speaking about who is the best arm wrestler ever. So for you, what is a good arm wrestler?
Mm.
If somebody is loading, gaining weight like a Hulk, and finally what he's doing on the table, nothing.
Mm.
I mean, for me, arm wrestling is not. I'm gonna explain you something. For me,
Okay.
what is important is not to win. I prefer to finish third, fourth, fifth, even 10th place, and having a very good time at the table and doing, great match because I was pulling very well.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Than to beat people because the level is not high.
Yes.
For me, what is important is not to beat people. What's important is to try to be better, to understand what you have to do to have a good match. So for me, the best arm wrestler in the world is not the guy who's going to win. He's the guy who's going to manage to do something good. I think it's way better than just to have raw power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hmm.
Now, Pushka is the number one actually, but for me, he's not the best arm wrestler. Understand what I mean?
Yes.
Sure.
I mean, he does not have so much ability to pull. He's strong, yeah. He's very. I mean, his raw power is incredible right now.
Hmm.
He
Hmm.
has incredible side pressure, but actually, do this arm wrestling. This is the main problem.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, who are the people that, if you were going to think of some of the guys that you would think are among the best arm wrestlers that are competing right now, who do you think of?
So right now, I mean, it's difficult to say. I think one guy like Vitaly Latlin,
Mm-hmm.
he was 100 kilo last year, a bit light for this side.
Yeah.
So now he's 110, and I think he's very good.
Hmm.
Now there is a guy from Kazakhstan as well,
Yeah.
Ongabayev, very very
Longer.
Very
strong.
good.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
amazing.
He has a very good wrist, very good hand, very good leverage, and he knows to use it. We have as well guys like Gasparini,
Excellent.
strong too. Yeah, he has a very good. I pull with him. I used to pull with him. He has genetically he has a very very good leverage. I mean the size of his hand, the length from here to here is very long, so he can have very good move. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And problem that now is out of competition. I don't know for how many mounts. So it's difficult to say. I don't know less the lightweight. Lightweight I
Yeah.
don't know so much, so I cannot say. There is a Turk, the guy from 85 kilo, very
Yeah.
good too.
Cossack.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, he's incredible.
Then yeah, there's Alex Zok. Oleg Zok is left.
Yeah.
For me, it's not that he's incredibly good, that he has a genetic predisposition, you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
He does, absolutely.
Because with his right hand, he would never be able to do what he's doing with his left.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, it's no, it's different.
He is different.
Then we have middleweight as well, 90 kilo this year. The rule was very, very stuck. The 90 kilo was very difficult. Yeah. So it's difficult to say who. For me, the best ever was Brezink.
Yeah.
And I don't see anybody right now to be better than him.
No, I don't think you're going to, just because of how long he did it for and different weight classes. He did it as a middleweight, and he was beating heavyweights and doing it in every different direction and every I don't know if we're ever going to see something like that ever again.
It's hard to say.
But I want to say as well that he was doing arm wrestling, He was not just going on the table and pull. He could do anything. That's why I don't see anybody who's going to be better than him for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. And, we've talked to people, about the way John trained, and he was right up until he stopped pulling, he was doing as much table time as he could. So he was pulling, if he could, every single day on the table to the point where his arm basically became bulletproof. And like you said, having so much time working in all the different angles, it made him very, very hard to beat because you couldn't find a weakness like you do for most people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so I mean...
Go
ahead. After you. You finish. We lose you? He's still there. So, what was I going to say? How about Sasha versus Babayev? How do you see that going?
I think Babayev is stronger.
Mm-hmm. I think Babayev is stronger than just about anybody. It's crazy how powerful he is. I was very surprised to see.
Babayev is... and there is something else with him that is smart too.
Yes, very experienced.
He's not just a great puller; he's smart. Yeah, I think Babayev has a very good top roll too.
Mm-hmm.
He does. We've seen it in the past.
So I think he can top roll Sasha, and he will beat him. Sasha as well is very strong.
Yeah, he is very strong.
He has very short, very, very short. Leverage, so he can use it very well.
Yeah, I
think maybe one day we'll see Sasha. I don't know.
Yeah, Sasha, every year he's 5 kilos heavier. He was doing 80 kilos 2 years ago, 85 last year, and this year he's 90.
No. There's something wrong what you say. He was 75, then 85.
75.
And then 90.
Then 90. Okay, there you go.
He's a small guy, and he's 19 years old.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, we all have to go to Bulgaria. I think they have very good soup there, Very Porsche.
Special calories is what you're saying?
Maybe. Well, you don't put on, I don't know, it's just crazy, because if you stand next to him, he's tiny. I mean, he's, maybe 5 feet tall. He's a very, very small person. But his power level is just incredible.
Yeah. There's a reason why, he's very short, so he will not be able to be... 90 kilo is the limit for him.
You think so? Yeah.
Right.
If he go to if he go to 100, he will never win because he's too short. 90 kilo is very the limit.
I think so.
And that's even a hard limit. There's some big 90-kilo guys. He's strong.
Yeah.
I mean, he's plenty strong, but in terms of like we were talking before, the balance, it's there's a certain point where your hand's a little too small, your arm's a little too short, where the structure becomes a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. If he went any higher, I think at 90, he obviously is extremely competitive.
I think 90 will be his maximum.
Yeah.
He will pull with 100-kilo guy. They will have a way longer. Leverage, and it would be too difficult.
I think so too. So, what are your goals for the next year coming up?
I don't know exactly. I think I will go to the Worlds, Europeans. Will be some tournament in US I would like to go to. I don't know. Any new about WL or UL? Is it going to be something else next year? You don't know.
I have no idea. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
I mean, the only big tournament that's coming up, as I said, is, Travis Bajan announced that you probably saw that he has a $25,000 prize for first place in the overall. $10,000 for first place in all the different weight classes. So it's a lot. It's a big amount of money, and it's a big promise. You always have to, when you see numbers that big, the first thing I think is are they real? Are people really going to win that kind of money? And we've been, at least in the States, there's been a couple different collapses back to back where
I know
a large amount of money was promised and then it disappeared.
No easy to raise money.
No,
it isn't.
Sure. Yeah.
It isn't. Yeah, but I mean, it would be fun to see it come over here again. I mean, maybe the Travis thing will happen, or maybe there'll be, it would be nice if Worlds, moved around a little bit more instead of it's always in Eastern Europe these days. It would be nice if it went, for example, to Switzerland or to England or Canada or someplace a little bit further away from Eastern Europe, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen anytime soon.
Unfortunately, it's not so easy. I know.
So
we'll see what's going on. Anyway, I will try to have 20 more years of happiness in arm wrestling.
Nice.
I like that. Yeah, we have. I don't know if you know Norm Devio. He's in his late 70s and he's still arm wrestling around
76,
here.
like 76.
Yeah,
I think I saw a video. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's still doing some damage to the young guys around here. So
good.
You can do it.
Yeah.
Well, man, this has been awesome. I'm really happy you came on with us. I'm sorry we started a little bit late. That's my fault. Like I said to John, we've had almost 100 episodes, so I had to be late eventually. So, we didn't even ask. Everybody's telling me to ask you about tattoos and guitars. I never got there. So let me ask,
my God.
Before you leave, let me ask you this. I mean, tattoos, guitar, arm wrestling are all very hand-dominant activities. So what is do you think that they work well together? Do you think one helps the other?
For me, without tattoo, no arm wrestling.
I see. True. Because it's funny.
Yeah. I'm doing a living with this, so the first thing is tattoo. Guitar. Guitar, I like to joke with. I'm not playing at all guitar. Sometimes the videos, but so. Yeah, work first, and then sport.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky enough, because my work allow me to have, a training that I can do or I want to do. It allows me to organize myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm training twice a day. I'm training at noon and at the evening too. If I was working, work, it was not possible.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, but this is as well the bad feeling of people, because now tattoo channel a lot, But when I was starting tattoo the same years and I'm wrestling, it was as well similar, because people were doing wrestling, they were, considered as dumb people, the same than people get tattooed.
Yeah, that's true.
So when I say, I'm a wrestler. Oh yeah, what do you do for a job? I'm doing tattoo. Oh yeah, it's one together. But in fact, all this, And a lot of people, they don't know that some people doing arm wrestling, they are still, in university, they have very high school level as well.
Yeah.
They're not just dumb people,
Not at all.
Yeah.
So, which one have you done the longest? Arm wrestling, tattoo, or guitar?
I never do a guitar in my life,
Yeah,
I
well,
don't know how to play.
people keep saying, ask them to show the guitar, ask them to show the guitar. So I don't know what you're looking
Yeah.
for.
No, I start tattoo the same year than arm wrestling. I start arm wrestling about 4 months before tattooing.
Okay.
So,
That's cool.
good association, yeah.
Nice.
So there's still some time to pick up the guitar then, you know?
Oh, yeah. I actually was trying guitar. I played guitar when I was 14.
Okay.
Well, I did it 3 months, and really was not my trick, So,
That's John's
yeah.
thing. John's good at the guitar.
Yeah.
Paul Maiden has one more question. He wants to know if you like the Gonzo tattoo.
Yeah, the Gonzo is a good friend of mine. But he's living in a bomber cage, so I don't know how it's going to be.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate the time. Thanks very much for spending an hour with us. And,
You too.
You're always welcome on the show anytime you want.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thanks,
All
Pascal.
right, well,
Thank you, guys.
we will see you soon.
All right.
All right. That was